We've spent $415,000 on sports cards in just 3 weeks. And not just a few high-end cards, but I'm talking thousands and thousands of cards because it's what we need to get ready for the opening of CardsHQ. What has that buying process been like? How have we been able to find the right cards? What are the right cards for us to buy? We're talking about that today and so much more. Hello, and here we go. Welcome to another episode of the Geoff Wilson Show. I'll tell you what, I need a nap. It has been an incredible race for the last few weeks getting ready for the opening of CardsHQ, and I can tell you, Carter and Ryan, my business partners, they really need a nap because we have been all over the country, and they especially have been all over the country buying a tremendous amount of cards. But it's not just buying we've been doing. We have been interviewing a ton of employees, going through 200 employee applications. We have also been managing the build-out process of this new card shop, getting our camera setups ready, getting our breaking booths and our live selling booths ready. The list of what has been happening goes on and on. But there's so much to share, and in particular, so many good lessons from things we've learned and experienced along the way. So let's get into it right now. I'm going to bring Carter and Ryan from CardsHQ back on the show. Carter and Ryan, it's great to have you guys back in studio again today. You guys have been busy. We've been busy. All of us have been really busy these last few weeks since we sat down to do one of these shows. What has this whirlwind been like for you guys?
It's been nonstop. I mean, just to put it blunt. I mean, it's every day. We're buying, we're working on developing our systems. We're just trying to get this business ready for January, end of January. That's the goal.
Feels like mention hiring. We are doing nonstop work.
Yeah, it feels like a sprint right now. Yeah, we're gonna talk all about that, and I think there's some good lessons from things we've done and what these experiences have been like to share with the audience today. You know, one of the reasons why I'm excited about documenting this whole process and doing these shows together routinely, so that we can talk about what we're learning and what's going well and what's not going well, because there's probably people out there that are going to try to open up card shops in the future or any type of business, and hopefully they glean some interesting, experiences from what we've done, our interesting experiences, and hopefully they can figure out a way to do this even better and make that work for themselves. So $415,000 in 3 weeks. That is how much we have spent on cards. And it's obviously not just one or two big cards. I mean, we're talking thousands of cards. I should say that you guys, for the most part, have spent $415,000. I was at one of the shows, Nashville, which was really the show where we kicked off the buying, and I was there helping a little bit do some of the buying. But then you guys, since Nashville, you guys have been to Chantilly. You guys have been all around and working out not even deals at card shows, but other types of deals. Tell me and tell the audience more about this buying. What has happened here in the last 3 weeks?
It's been unreal. I mean, every show that we've been to, the response for CardsHQ has been incredible. So we've had lines, we've had people wait to sell to us. Part of our buying process right now is we're being way more strategic than what Ryan and I are really used to. We're used to buying whatever we can and being able to flip it within 2 weeks. Our strategy now is we're buying cards that we have to hold till the end of January. So it's just a different avenue for us. So we're focusing on cards mainly $20 to $1,000. So that's great, but we've had a lot of people come up with high-end cards as well, and we've had to pass. And they're good cards, good prices, good deals, but we just can't take that risk right now. We want to buy those cards eventually. But the struggle with that is quantity, because we're not, we need value box cards as well, but that's hard at shows that we're flying to. Like Chantilly, we got to bring it back. So if someone brings us a full 3-row or 5-row full of dollar cards, we got to be able to fit that in a suitcase. We got to be able to get it, a certain weight. Like it's a little bit of a worry where we have collections that people are reaching out to us online. They're willing to ship it to us. So at shows, it's been difficult to get kind of quantity in some ways because we're buying such a specific value of card.
Yeah. Well, and buying within that range, that price range right now is important for us because, as you said, our store's opening at the end of January, late January, and we're sitting here in October, November. We're buying these cards, and we're all worried about, how these cards will move in the market, especially if you're buying guys who are playing today. the market moves slower on, if you were buying vintage or we're buying the all-time greats, it can still move, but it moves slower. But if we're buying Brock Purdy, it was up 50%, the first 5 weeks of the football season, and it's down 50%, over the last few weeks, right? So the danger of buying Brock Purdy today is, who knows, by the time the store opens at the end of January, Brock Purdy's cards could be worth half of what they are today, or they could be worth double what they are today. And if you're buying for your own speculation or your own personal collection, it's okay to gamble. But if you're buying for a store where the purpose of the store is to make money, just like that's the purpose of any business, you don't really want to put the store's fortunes and fate on a speculative play, right? You really want to be smart about that. You guys have been dealing for many years, and you made the point, like, normally you're used to buying and then selling 2 weeks later. This is now a different mentality because we don't have that luxury, because we're having to buy to get this opening inventory ready. Ryan, how has that shifted, like, kind of your behavior at these shows?
Well, I mean, I think you stick to the basic concepts of, instead of buying napkin patches, you buy at true patches, 2-color patches, 3-color patches. Buying the players that you think will be hot in January. You really got to speculate. You got to keep up to date with the NFL standings. I listen to a lot of podcasts that tell me, like, how the NFL season's going. Same with basketball just starting up. We're so early into the season, but even keeping up to date with what's going on there, what teams look like they're going to be good when January rolls around.
Yeah. I mean, if you're buying players on the Nuggets and the Celtics, you're probably going to be okay. We do still risk injury, but that's unavoidable, right? I mean, if we were commenting that when the whole mess happened with Wander Franco, that if our store was open, we probably would have had several rows of Wander Franco cards in one of our showcases, and all of a sudden those things are dipping in value literally overnight. And the same is true if Jason Tatum tears his ACL, or if Jokic goes down with a, broken ankle or something like that, right? Like, so we're susceptible to that occurring. And to a degree, we have to take the risk because we can't not buy the cards. We have to, on opening day, we have to have a good selection of all of the top name guys across all of the sports. So we have to buy them, but we also have to, mitigate the risk as much as we can by not buying things that are too expensive yet. And it sounds like, Ryan, you were saying really focusing maybe on the cards that are maybe a little nicer. Just, is that more like visually attractive? You're talking about like the different patch, the number of colors on the patch and that type of thing. Cards that you think just have a little bit more intrinsic value that collectors are still going to, desire. Maybe they're a little bit less speculative in nature.
Yeah, like for instance, like a product like Certified, they have the RPAs and they're out of $4.99, right? Well, if we can get one that has a 5-color patch, obviously that's going to maintain its value. And if we can get it at 80% of like kind of what the napkins are doing, I think we're safer there. So we're really kind of being picky with what we're buying, per se.
Interesting. So placing emphasis on visual appeal. Now, the challenge, I'm sure, with being picky, like, I love the fact that we're being picky, right? This is great. Like, I want all of our shelves to be filled with really nice cards, and I want our investment to be safe in these cards. But that also makes the buying process more difficult. And when we, figured out how many cards we needed just to fill our showcases when we opened, it was something like 14,000 cards that we determined we needed. And that was without having backup cards in inventory. And that was without having any cards to sell on like live auctions. And we want to do all that stuff too. So, and that also, by the way, that number didn't include value boxes. It didn't include dollar bins. And that's an important part of our strategy. In fact, we have a whole large section of the store, multiple places for people to sit and sift through a whole bunch of value bins, dollar boxes, that kind of stuff. So we got to have a lot of that stuff too. So when you add in that stuff, I mean, we're talking tens of thousands of cards, many, many tens of thousands, if not 100,000+ cards that we got to have for opening inventory. Ryan, how have you balanced, like, when you're buying at these shows, the knowledge that we have to buy so much, yet the desire to make sure we're buying at a good price and we're buying quality cards with visual appeal that are going to hold up well?
Yeah, so I'll talk you through my buying process. So I get on my computer, For basketball, I haven't been able to watch it this year because we've been so busy. So I just search the players, see what they're averaging per game. If they're averaging 4 points a game, that's not too exciting, But if they're averaging 14 to 20, they're obviously off to a good start. Then we go to market movers. We go to Card Ladder. We use Alt. We use eBay. We use 130 Point. Just comp out the cards, just make sure we don't miss a comp, and go through it. Go through the buying process of offering 80% and then negotiating the deal with the customers.
Yeah. And Carter, from your perspective, what has this felt like? This is different, as you said, at the beginning, this is different than what you've historically done. Have you had to kind of adapt, your approach? These people, they line up, they bring you cards, you've got the buying station at these various card shows. Have you had to adapt your approach to maybe what you would normally do, keeping the bigger picture in mind?
I think setup wise, we're pretty similar to what we were doing. Set up with a computer, sitting down, waiting for people to come to sell to us cards. But I think the biggest change is being picky, kind of like how you guys talked about the quality of cards we're so focused on. Where before we were like, we'll buy those mid cards because they still move, they still sell, they can still sell on eBay, they can still sell at shows. People look for oddball players all the time, right? We're just focused on those players that may not be volatile. And that's kind of been the biggest adjustment, because it's like, I probably see 50 cards in a row, and I'm like, I would normally buy these, and I'm going to pass just because I don't know what these are going to be here in 3 months down the line.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's not just cards we've been buying, and we've been buying a lot of them. And I want to talk about wax too, and I'm sure the audience is going to be interested to hear about distributors and how all that's been working. But before we wrap up on the card segment, the different shows you guys have gone to so far. So we've had Nashville. You guys had a big setup in Nashville. We've had Chantilly. We got Palm Beach coming up.
Yep. And then we're in Dallas.
Yeah, we're recording this right before the Palm Beach show. By the time it comes out, you will have just been at the Palm Beach show. And then you guys did Dallas as well. So those are the shows that have happened, essentially, since we started announcing CardsHQ and doing the buying. I'm curious, what have been the differences between Nashville, Chantilly, and Dallas? Do you see differences in what people are bringing up? Do the shows, because of the region or the type of collector that they attract or the history of the show, are there notable differences in what comes to the table, or do you kind of see a lot of similar things no matter what show you're at?
I think for the most part it's similar. Definitely Chantilly and Nashville were close together. Dallas was a different animal compared to the two. Dallas, we bought a high quality of cards, and we bought a way higher quantity. It was a very successful show for us. I'd say, the biggest difference between the shows is Nashville's a little bit more local, so we knew a lot of the people. We knew a lot of the dealers there more. We knew a lot of the people walking around and bringing us deals. Chantilly was a lot of new people that we met, and we were having great conversations. They were bringing us a bunch of different type of cards. Definitely a lot of vintage. We got a lot of older cards there than we did in Nashville and Dallas, for sure.
Yeah, Chantilly's actually kind of known for being a little bit more of a vintage show, which is rare because most card shows, when you go to them these days, outside of the National, most card shows, you tend to see a lot of ultra-modern and maybe a little bit of vintage, maybe, right? Chantilly, you actually do see more vintage. You see kind of more, a variety of older stuff there. So that's interesting. So you're saying the buying pattern in Chantilly was a little different in that regard as well. You were seeing more vintage, some more older stuff walk up to the booth.
Yeah, it was still a lot of ultra modern, but more vintage than a normal show, I'd say.
Yeah, which is good because we want to have a mix. We want to have a mix of both. Sitting where we sit today now, we're probably, I don't know, maybe we're probably about a third of the way into our buying here before the store opens, right? In terms of card buying, what are you most and least concerned about in terms of being able to acquire enough quantity in terms of sport or in terms of era? So, are you like, are you saying, we're going to be fine on football, but man, we've not found many great, baseball cards, or soccer has not come up to us at all? And then likewise, are you like, we're going to be great on ultra modern, but vintage is tough, or is it actually vice versa?
Well, I think we're going to be great in baseball. One thing that we bought a lot of is Ohtani. That's probably the most that we've bought, right?
Ohtani and Acuna.
Yeah, Ohtani and Acuna. I mean, those cards have come up to our table like crazy, and they're both down, like right now in the current market, and it hasn't been announced yet that they're going to win MVPs. It's expected. So I would hope their market hopefully goes up here soon, and then also prior to the season, in the early 2024. So we're not concerned about baseball. I'd say football, we have a lot of quantity. Basketball's a little challenging. I think the basketball market's not in the strongest place. I see it stronger than last year, but I think there's a lot of players that aren't hot anymore where they were. I think we're in a weird phase right now where there's a lot of young players that haven't made it, and there's only a couple that have kind of fought through the brick wall. So, but I'm confident mostly in quantity. I think for us, it's just going to be demand and quality, the mix of those two, because I think we're going to have to buy those more mid cards that we would have bought more in the past that are good for collectors and that will fill our showcases, but we're going to buy those when we get closer rather than now.
I've been a little upset because I'm a huge F1 collector and we have had none walk up. So that's been disheartening, but I think it'll happen and we could source it on eBay as well. But F1 we're lacking on. Hockey, luckily Chantilly was a great hockey show up there in the north. Had a few hockey purchases there.
Soccer's been good. Soccer's been pretty strong. We bought some good soccer cards.
Yeah,
so
the
far.
Lorcana supply is not there. Luckily we found a dealer in Dallas that we made a big deal with, but we're going to need more Lorcana as well.
Yeah, Disney Lorcana. That's the new trading card game from Disney. And we are doing trading card games as well, right? That's a big part of the store. And we're going to talk about hiring in a minute. We made a big hire in that regard, bringing a new store manager onto our team who's got a ton of TCG experience, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, Lorcana, because that's an area where we're not strong in, but it's an area that is important for the success of our card shop. We hear from a lot of sports card store owners that their TCG section in the store does really, really well, and that's an important part to their business. And so we're leaning heavily into TCG alongside, of course, having an absolutely amazing sports card selection. Okay, that's interesting stuff. So we'll have to work on F1 a little bit. We do have the F1 race coming up here in Vegas, so that's probably going to provide a little pop in F1 excitement nationally. We'll have to keep our eyes out for some F1 cards as we head into January, certainly with the store opening. All right, sounds good. Wax. So we have been busy setting ourselves up with distributor accounts with Peach State, Southern Hobby, GTS. Those are three of your big kind of resellers, both of TCG and sports cards. These are not easy accounts to necessarily set up. They'll take your application, but there's allocation limits and sometimes there's waiting periods and everything like that. We've had a bit of an advantage over what, a typical sports card store that's brand new might have, in the fact that obviously people are more aware of what we're doing because of the, media around Sports Card Investor and CardsHQ and this type of thing. So they're I think being very helpful to us, which is awesome. And, that's definitely an advantage that we have. But even with that being said, there's still a lot of hoops to jump through there. There's a lot of paperwork. We're still subject to, allocation and only being able to buy certain amounts of certain products and having to establish spending histories and all that stuff that every other sports card store has to, go through as well. We have that as well. We have been, working with Topps to build a direct relationship with them. We have not had luck doing that with Panini yet. And whether we'll ever have luck doing that with Panini, I don't know. But I hope we will. I hope we can get Panini's products in the store. We're certainly going to have Panini's products in the store. The question is, do we get to actually buy them direct from Panini, which is a big cost savings, or do you have to buy them through distributors, or do you have to buy them on the third party market, or, buy them on, or I should say the second party market, right? Buy them secondhand, buy them from other sports card stores and that type of thing, which then, or buy them, off eBay or whatever that might look like, in which case, obviously your margins get squeezed quite a bit. Now we have had some success. There's a sports card shop in Tennessee who we were able to acquire a lot of wax inventory from, and that did include a lot of Panini product. And so that was a really nice boost for us to get started. And I guess we're going to continue to look for deals like that, right? Like if we can find sports card shops that have extra inventory and we can work out some type of deal to buy a massive amount of inventory, I'm talking like 6 figures inventory purchase, we're probably going to do that and try to pull a bunch of inventory into our shop for opening day that way.
Yeah, I mean, we've already bought some other wax. We bought a lot of 2020 football wax in Dallas last week. And I think the hardest part with the wax is we're trying to strategize between buying from other card shops into other dealers or just buying from distributors to get our spend up, because we want to get those allocation levels and we want to raise those over time, but we got to reach certain spend levels with the wax that they already have in stock. So I think right now, Ryan and I were trying to strategize how to approach that, because we're still early in that process. But I think that's the biggest challenge when it comes to wax, is we don't want to overspend with dealers and other card shops, and then that hurt our chances to get allocation with other distributors.
Yeah. Yeah. That allocation's a big deal. They want you to show them the money, and then they'll show you the product, and they'll give you more product over time if you spend more money with them. That's how the distributors work. And so you want to build those deep relationships and spend the money. But the distributors don't always have, older products. They have some, they'll have some restocks and stuff they've bought back and everything like that. But there's, they don't always have a full gamut of older stuff. And the manufacturers certainly don't. Like, for the most part, if you get a direct account with Topps or you get a direct account with Panini, for the most part, you're getting that to get the new releases. You're not getting that to get product from a year or 2 or 5 ago, because they're focused on the next new release, not holding product from 5 years ago, right? So it is a challenge for a new sports card shop that even if you get direct accounts with Topps and Panini, you're thinking that's awesome, that's great, I'm being able to buy direct from the manufacturer at wholesale. But what are you going to do on opening day? Because on opening day, you can't just have whatever that week's new releases on your shelf and nothing else. You got to figure out a way to go get an inventory of back stuff. And that is challenging. We've discovered that is challenging. That's not just pick up a phone, call Topps and say, hey, I'm opening up a new sports card shop. Can you give me every one of your products from the last 3 years so I can look like all my shelves are full of wax? They don't do that. And so it's tough. But that's, as you said, making deals at the Dallas Card Show and at Nashville and going through these distributors and trying to, find what back product they do have that we can buy that makes sense. It's been a learning experience, but it's exciting. And I like the wax piece of it. I think we all have a little bit more confidence in than the cards, because the one nice thing about wax is the price of wax tends to be more stable than the price of individual cards. You'll see certain players go up and other players go down, but the price of wax, it is definitely affected somewhat by player performance, but in a sense, it's a little bit more like a mutual fund. Like we were just talking about how 2023 Mosaic Football, which is a new release, new hobby box, how those are doing well right now. They're going up in the secondary market because CJ Stroud's carrying the product, right? He's really helping out. But thank goodness the wax has CJ Stroud, because if you had invested directly into Anthony Richardson cards, or if you had invested directly into Bryce Young cards, you probably would be hurting right now, because those cards have probably gone down some, but CJ Stroud is hot. And so the overall wax boxes are hot on the back of CJ Stroud. So that's the nice thing about wax. It just takes like one player to help, keep that box market up. I was looking at the price of 2020 Prism football hobby boxes. Those have been relatively flat for the most part for a lot of this year, despite the fact that a lot of Burrow cards, and Burrow was kind of considered the flagship quarterback of 2020. A lot of his cards were dipped quite a bit, the first few weeks of the year, as he got off to a really rough start. Didn't look good at all in his first few games. And Herbert, his market's cooled off some, and he was the second guy, right, in 2020 football. His market cooled off some, so his card prices went down. But 2020 wax remained pretty good because Tua had a hot start to his season, and so he lifted 2020 wax. And of course, Jalen Hurts, who's been doing great. Tua's now come down a little bit, but Jalen Hurts is now up and carrying it, right? So you get a little bit more of that mutual fund effect with wax. So would you guys agree it's a little safer to be buying the wax now and anticipate that it will hopefully hold up, for when the store opens?
I would say yeah, but man, it's like we've been buying all these cards and we're buying like some of the coolest hits from the product. I still think there's a disconnect in this hobby between hobby box prices and what you actually can get out of them. And I think that the hobby really needs to let the boxes drop a little bit more and then get to a normal rate where we can actually open boxes and actually like get some value out of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is the mutual fund side of it. I think also like another aspect of 2020 is Jordan Love's finally a starting quarterback. Now his cards are down, but you're talking about a quantity of players now that are starting in the NFL. In 2023, Will Levis is now named the starter for the Titans. So you got 4 starters. Obviously, Anthony Richardson's hurt, but you look at 2021 box prices have dipped. We've been offered 2021 Prism boxes at low prices compared to what they were doing over the summer, and they're still not good deals. They're continuing to go down because you got Mac Jones who's struggling, and so it's really just Trevor Lawrence. Justin Fields has been hurt now for a couple of weeks and he's not back. So I mean, and Justin Fields prices were crazy over the summer going into the National. So I think it kind of goes into form about the quantity of star players from any sport, and then how, if they're just solid or if they're really bad or if they're really good.
Yeah. That's fair. But even with a dip in 2021 wax prices, I doubt the boxes are down as much as if you had a bunch of individual Justin Fields cards, for example, right? Like those going back to the start, and they were on a little bit of a roller coaster. They went down a lot, then they went back up a little bit. Now they're back down quite a bit again, So the boxes are down, but oftentimes the cards are down even more. Your point, Ryan, was interesting. Yeah, the price of boxes sometimes compared to what you get out of them, it's silly. It's been that way for a while. It's just the excitement of the rip. And I think it's the fact that, boxes, opening up a box has an entertainment factor to it. It's got a gambling factor to it. It's got the hope and desire. You're going to pull the 1 of 1 or the gold out of 10, and it's going to really make the whole thing worth it many times over. Most of the time that doesn't happen, but you're paying the premium for entertainment. I would like to see the price of boxes, come down. Not the inventory we've already bought. I don't want to see that come down. But in general, I would like to see the prices of boxes come down a little bit because I think it's healthier for the market. And I think one thing that's interesting about the sports card market is the fact that prices have fallen as much as they have in the last couple of years. Some make the argument it's a disaster for the sports card market and it shows that everything's crumbling. And then others, including myself, would make the argument this makes the hobby a lot more approachable and affordable for the everyday customer. And one thing I really like about Topps and Fanatics over Panini is that Topps tends to focus on more affordable products. Topps, and this has historically been this way, right? Topps Chrome, more affordable than Prism. Just at where the things are priced at. Topps Chrome's always, at a price level below Prism, even though those really are comparable products in terms of like how those products are structured and set up. Kind of the flagship chromium product for both, Topps and Panini, but Prism's a lot more expensive, right? And so as Topps gets into football and basketball, as we see them enter that market and things change in the upcoming years, Panini eventually exiting, it will be interesting. I'm hoping that's a good thing. I'm hoping that we can have people come in the store, kids with their dads or moms, and buy boxes of Topps Chrome or Topps Flagship and feel like they're getting a really good value to be able to rip all of those packs for that little bit of money compared to how much it would have cost them to buy the equivalent box of like Prism, and how much what you get a rip for that money, right? So hopefully that's a good sign. Hopefully that will create more collectors and reward kids and younger collectors and get more of those folks into the hobby.
I love what they're doing too. I mean, they're creating, like you said, it's entertainment value. I mean, think about the debut patches. Like that is so cool. Like I can't wait to try to hit one. And then there's other future products that they're planning on doing great big things with. I mean, the Tom Brady auto and Bowman this year. I mean, how cool would it be to pull that?
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be exhilarating. I'm definitely gonna open a box.
They got some exciting chases.
Also LeBron with his son.
LeBron with his son, and now I don't know if you guys saw, but we have Shohei Ohtani and Babe Ruth dual signed 1 of 1 cards.
Yep.
The Babe Ruth obviously cut autos and the Shohei on card. 1 of 1s in definitive. So I mean, they're definitely adding a lot of exciting chases to the products, which will keep interest high and will keep box prices high as well because people are going to be going for the chases, but it will keep interest high. Okay. I want to touch on some of the other things we've been doing because we've just spent a lot of time talking about buying and cards and wax, and that's been a big part of it. But we've been doing a ton of other stuff. Hiring. This has been a lot. You guys received, what do we have? Close to 200 job applications?
Just under that right now, I think.
Yeah, just under 200. And so we are just now in the process of starting that process. You guys had to wade through all 200 applications, and it's hard to make a judgment based on an application because you don't necessarily get a good sense for the person. You just get a good sense of what they wrote, that their experience was, and how they wrote about that. But we decided to group those applications into kind of different categories. The groups that looked like maybe they had the most on-point experience for what we were looking for, those we kind of prioritized to start doing phone interviews with. And that's what we've been doing the last couple of weeks. And then the other groups that they didn't maybe make it into that top tier of like, this person seems to have the most on-point experience, but the other groups they may be groups that we call people in as well, right? So we're just kind of trying to prioritize our efforts since we do have 200 applicants to go through. You guys spent, I think, all day yesterday doing some of these phone screens, right? What's that process been like? Are you encouraged with what you're seeing? How much are you able to get a feel for somebody in a 30-minute period? What's this been like?
Most phone screens have been absolutely awesome. I mean, the passion people have and for this hobby, and they really want to be a part of something as great as what we're building. So we spent yesterday and then last Wednesday as well. I think we spent 9 hours both days, 8 or 9 hours both days, every 30 minutes, and we only took one 30-minute break for lunch both days. So we've interviewed a lot of people already, and we got to do it again next week and the following week. So we're not even close to being done in this first phase. But so far, it's been really strong. I think a lot of good experience, a lot of people with card shop experience, show experience, other related business experience that could really fit our needs.
Yeah. What's it been like from your perspective?
I think the coolest part is just like how good of a job we're going to provide, how fun it'll be. A lot of these people that are applying are huge collectors. They go home and collect and sort their collections, but then they go to their 9 to 5 that a lot of them are telling us they hate. They're like, our first question for everyone is why do you apply, and why do you think you'd be a good fit? And a lot of people are saying, I want to work somewhere fun. I want to be excited to go to work. So just being able to provide that is just awesome. Meeting a lot of new people, learning about why they want to work there, learning about their experiences in the hobby. I mean, some of these people are smarter than me. They've been doing it since we had one guy, he's been doing it since 1972. So I'm humbled by his knowledge for sure.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting to meet all these wonderful people.
That's awesome. That's good. Well, I'm glad we're getting some of those, people applying. And by the way, everyone out there, thank you if you did apply, and if you are still interested in applying, reach out to us, go to cardshq.com. So we got a lot of work still ahead to do. For those folks who we phone screened so far, I know we're going to advance some of those people on to more detailed interviews and then make some hiring decisions. And then we're going to get back to some of the other people who we haven't had a chance to talk to yet and, have conversations with all of them. We have made one official hire thus far, and it's for a gentleman named Mike, who is a big time Pokemon, player and collector, and has a lot of card shop experience as well. Pokemon Professor Mike, as he's known online on social. And that was a really key hire for us because we knew that we didn't have that experience and really needed that experience on our team. What was that like, Carter, in terms of being able to get Mike on board? How do you feel now knowing that we've got that role as part of our group?
It feels amazing. It was such a critical role to address early on. His first day with us was the Dallas Card Show. Literally showed up at our house Thursday morning at 6 a.m. for our flight. That was his first day. The only big trade show he's ever been to is the Culture Collision show here. So we really threw him into the fire this last week, and had him join us on the buying trail in Dallas. But for us, I think we have a passion for collectors, period, as a company. And TCG, Pokemon, Lorcana, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, that's all under the same umbrella as sports cards. So I think for us to have somebody that has the experience to, buy the right inventory, to provide the right inventory, to run tournaments, to run different events, to bring people into the store and create more experience beyond sports cards is so amazing for our company going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited. I'm excited about that. Are you excited about the TCG aspect as well, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time with Mike this weekend and learning about the culture of Pokemon. It's just like so different, and I mean, it's great to learn. I mean, like even as simple as like Mike's like, this card's $6. Well, if we have a $6 sports card, we round down to $5. And this card's $9. Well, we're gonna round that up to 10. And he's like, no, it's $9. That's how it works. And I'm like, okay, I guess it's $9. Learning from him on the different, parallels of Pokemon and the different sets. I mean, he's truly an expert. He's a registered professor for Pokemon. So he can host tournaments and actually award points for those tournaments in our shop. So that's great. I don't mean to roast him on here, but we sent him into Dallas first day, and we're like, okay, what's your total spend today? He's like, $20.
$20?
And I'm like, Mike, that's not going to work. Do you know how many showcases we got to fill? So we ramped it up, and he spent like $10,000 the next day, and bought a lot of great inventory,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just funny to bring that up.
He filled up his whole Zion case. We bought him a roller while we were there. So.
Good. I'm glad he's starting to get it, because he's got a lot more buying to do between now and when we open. $10,000 though in Pokemon cards tends to go further than $10,000 in sports cards. Often,
it does, absolutely.
The higher end Pokemon is a lot more affordable than the higher end sports cards for the most part, right? Unless you're talking about the, first edition Shadowless Charizard, then okay, now you're going to drop some serious money. But for the most part, newer releases, higher end stuff, Pokemon, a lot more affordable than sports cards. So your money goes a little further. But yeah, we're excited to get all of that built out. We've been spending a lot of time as well on getting our camera setup right. Live streaming, live selling, breaking is a huge part of our business plan. I don't think people realize how big of a part of our business plan it actually is. And we'll talk maybe more about that in future episodes. But we are placing a ton of weight on doing a ton of live selling from this store. We're really setting the entire store up so that it's a live selling studio for us. And so that we can be, the reason for it is obviously Sports Card Investor has a big audience, and we recognize that only a small percentage of that audience is ever going to make it to Atlanta and walk in the store. So we want to make sure that the rest of the audience has the opportunity to still experience CardsHQ. And one of the ways that we're doing that is going to be through a lot of live selling. But we also knew that if we were going to do live selling, streaming on all these different platforms, on Whatnot and Fanatics Live and TikTok Shopping and other platforms, eBay Live, other things that are out there, as well as like our own YouTube and other things, we knew that we would have to create an experience and a production quality level that is unlike anything that is currently out there, because Sports Card Investor is known for having really good quality production. And that's not because of me, that's because we have an amazing production team here. And in fact, Charles sitting right behind the camera. Guys don't see Charles, but sitting behind the camera, he's the head of our production team, and Kelly's the head of our content team. And we have an incredible, array of very talented people, videographers, social, content, writing, the whole gamut on that side of the house, graphics. And so, we've established that quality level. It's worked really well for Sports Card Investor. And we said, if we're going to do CardsHQ, we got to be best in the business in terms of quality. So we're investing. Every one of these live streaming setups we're doing is going to cost about $10,000 for a single live streaming setup. A lot of our competition, a lot of people who go live on Whatnot and sell cards use their iPhone. And there's nothing wrong with it. Whatnot's got a nice app to, use your iPhone and that kind of thing. But we've looked at this and we've said, how do we take that and make it 10x better? And so we're investing $10,000 in equipment per live streaming studio. And we have 6 live streaming studios, plus a breaker arena, plus our Sports Card Investor studio, plus the desire to go live from the aisles, which is going to have its own rig with its own camera. I mean, guys, we're talking $100,000 plus in camera equipment just to support live streaming, live selling, that type of thing in the new store. And we've been building out a test of that here. We've been trying to perfect that here. And in fact, Carter, you and I are going to give a preview of this tomorrow to the audience. The day this is airing, the following day, you and I are going to be live on Whatnot for several hours, starting at 5 p.m. Eastern time, using our new setup. And it's going to be kind of a test for the whole setup and the quality of it. We're selling 500 cards live on Whatnot, on the CardsHQ shop channel on Whatnot, not on Sports Card Investor, but on CardsHQ shop. We're going live with 500 cards. and we're testing all of this out. You ready for this? You think we're going to hold up? This is going to be many, many hours. We're going to be streaming late into the late hours of the night.
I'm ready. I can go 24 hours straight.
Oh, geez.
If you're down.
My gosh. I can't do that anymore. You're in your 20s. I'm in my 40s. I'm not doing 24 hours straight, but I appreciate your enthusiasm.
I'm going to do it
that.
someday.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay. All right. Maybe when the store opens, we probably will be going 24 hours straight, not live streaming, but we're probably going to be going 24 hours straight, just trying to get all the showcases filled and everything cleaned and dusted for opening day when we get there, for sure. Well, that's exciting. And then, of course, we got the build out of the store itself, right? And we were just there a couple of days ago. Ryan, I don't know if you've ever seen the build out of kind of something of this scope before. I know you actually were a bit in the construction business previously, but what has that been like? Has it surprised you? How this has gone so far?
I think it's going really quick. I mean, my cheeks were hurting after being in there, but I was smiling the whole time. I mean, it's crazy to envision everything that's going to be happening in that store. And like now the walls are going up, the studs are going up. I mean, everything's where it's going to be now. And it's just, they got to keep working quickly. We want them to beat that timeline so we can be open for Culture Collision.
Yeah. It's a race. And it's a race because we put an aggressive target on it, right? So our target is to open up January 26th, which is the Friday, the first day of the Culture Collision show. Culture Collision, for those who don't know, it's the big card show of the year in Atlanta. And it just so happens that it's taking place in January, at the end of January, 26, 27, 28 of January. And so when we kicked off construction, we said to the contractor, like, we really need to be open for this, because it would be a miss if it just so happens that where the Culture Collision show was physically located is within half a mile of our store. So if our store is not open and Culture Collision's taking place a half a mile down the road, it just feels like a miss. It feels like it could be a great grand opening. Now, the contractor said, and we talked to, obviously we interviewed multiple contractors. We got bids from multiple contractors, and they all said, this is really ambitious. This is difficult. And having gone through a bunch of construction projects before, as probably, the audience has probably had a lot of these experiences, they often get delayed. They rarely get done when they're supposed to get done. So we're definitely taking a chance here. We're taking a risk. I don't know for sure that it will be 100% done, but we're pushing like heck, and we really hope to get open before January 26th. And I don't know, Carter, do you believe we're going to do it? I mean, at the pace that this is moving so far, do you think we're going to make this happen?
Oh, you have to. I believe it. I mean, that's the goal. I think for us, it's going to be such a fun weekend if we can be open.
Yeah, we're certainly going to push hard. Hopefully the city building inspector, who may ultimately be the one who dictates if we're allowed to open up or not, hopefully the building inspector is a sports card fan. That would certainly be helpful if they were. And they could just give us the little pass on the permit and the certificate of occupancy. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, that's flying. That's a lot of fun. All right, we covered a lot of ground today. I know we're busy. You guys are about to head out to another card show and do a lot more of this buying. Any closing thoughts today about how you're feeling, about how this is all going at this moment before we wrap up? I'll start with you, Carter.
Everything's just been so exciting so far. I mean, first off, all the responses we've heard online and in person at shows has just been so great. And, there's been a lot of good feedback. A lot of people are sharing opinions with us, and, we're hearing it. We're hearing it everywhere. And it's encouraging that there's people that are interested in giving us opinions. A lot of card shops, a lot of businesses in this hobby don't have that. They don't have a fan base or a group of people that are willing to share their thoughts and their opinions with what we're doing. And so it's encouraging. It's encouraging for us to have so many people that are interested in what we're doing every day, because we are doing something different. We're doing something unprecedented. We're doing something ambitious, and we're confident in it. So we're just overall excited, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of late nights. I mean, this is not a 40-hour job right now, not even close. It's triple that, if not over. So, but we're just excited to keep working, and we're excited to get this shop started and, give Atlanta a new home for the industry.
It's going to be great. How about you, Ryan?
I just want to give a quick shout out to my wife, understanding how much work we're putting into all this. I mean, it's going to be like this for another 2 years, honey.
That's a great point, though. I mean, it takes a village, right? It takes a family. It takes the support of that. I mean, that's the thing about the entrepreneurial journey. I am a huge advocate of people starting businesses when they're young. Like I started my first business in high school, but I'm a big advocate of high schoolers, college students, or those who have just graduated from college, 20s, in your 20s. Like that's the time to do it. Those ages are the time to do it because of the time it takes to really, you got to pour your heart and soul. You got to pour everything you got into it. And that often means late nights, that often means weekends, that also often means time away from families, from loved ones. Both of you guys are newly married. Neither of you guys have families, have kids yet, right? Which is a blessing. It becomes a lot harder to do it at that point. And, it becomes a lot more difficult. And so it's a lot harder. And not only that, but then you have all the financial responsibilities. You have less financial responsibilities when you're in your 20s. If you mess up and something doesn't work out, you can, even if you get in some debt, you can generally dust yourself off and figure it out, and you got time to recover. But if you're in your 30s, or especially like your 40s, or even beyond that, right? Now you got kids you're supporting, you got probably more expensive mortgages on your home and multiple car payments you might have to be making. And, not to mention, you really got to think about your retirement savings. It's a lot harder to take a big risk then, financially, time-wise, everything. So, what you just said is very on point, Ryan. And what I would say back to that, to the audience, is just do it when you're young. Do it when you're young. That's the time to do it. You don't know it all. You're going to make a lot more mistakes when you're young. You're not as seasoned. You're going to learn things as you go, and you're going to make mistakes. And you're going to stub your toe, but that's the opportunity for you to stub your toe and not have it, totally mess things up. So anyway, all right. Well, this is all exciting. We've covered a lot of ground today. We're going to wrap, but we're going to be back here talking these similar types of conversations once a month, and we're going to talk through this whole thing. So next time we get back together, it will be, I guess early December probably is when we'll get back together again and have this conversation again. And it's going to be fascinating to see how things have progressed over the last month and what we have learned, in doing so. So, good. Well, I appreciate it. Good to see you, Carter. Good to see you, Ryan. And good to see you out there as well. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. And just a reminder, you can get the full-length version of all of these shows on YouTube under the Geoff Wilson Show channel on YouTube, as well as on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you search for the Geoff Wilson Show. Appreciate you. See you for the next one. Take care.